Summary of True Grit by Charles Portis. Mattie Ross knows that most people don't think a 14-year-old girl can kill someone who killed her father. Still, this is what she does after her father is killed. Her dad went from Little Rock, Arkansas to Fort Smith, Arkansas to make the deal with a man named Stonehill so that they could buy a group of ponies. Maddie stayed home with her mother and two younger brothers, and Frank Ross brought Tom Chaney with him. Chaney was from Louisiana, and he showed up one day and asked to work. Frank agreed to hire Chaney because he seemed like a man who was having a hard time. When they got to Fort Smith, though, Chaney lost all of his money by gaming. He became very angry, drank a lot, and then chose to go after the guys who won his money. Frank tried to stop him as he promised to steal his money back. He was shot by Chaney, who then took 2 gold pieces from him. He then ran to Stonehill's stables, hit a guard in the face with a stick, and stole Frank's horse Judy. Maddie goes to Fort Smith after her father's death and talks to the sheriff. She learns that the police aren't doing much to catch Chaney because he has escaped with lucky Ned Pepper and his gang, who were recently involved in a mail train robbery. So far, the cops think Chaney and his group have gotten away into Indian territory, which is not their territory. Because of this, Maddie chooses to hire Rooster Cogburn, a marshal who the sheriff says is cruel. He also tells her that Rooster has court the next morning. Then Maddie tells Yarnell, who worked for her dad and went with her to Fort Smith, to take Frank's body back to Little Rock while she stays in Fort Smith. She stays at the same boarding house that night as her dad and Chaney. She goes to Stonehill the next day and asks him to buy back the horse, but he says the deal is already done and refuses. Maddie tells him she will take him to court, but he doesn't believe her. He finally understands that she and her lawyer, Lawyer Daggett, will build a strong case. After a lot of arguing, Maddie finally gets him to agree to buy back the ponies and pay for the horse that Chaney stole because it was on Stonehill's land when Chaney took it. Stonehill reluctantly agrees to give her $325 as long as she shows him a letter from Daggett that spells out the deal. Matthew takes a message to Daggett at the telegraph office. Later, she goes to the courthouse to see Rooster Cogburn speak against Otis Wharton, who is the last man left of Otis Wharton's evil family. Rooster has killed so many Whartons that Otis's lawyer says he is aggressive for no reason. While he's on the stand, Rooster says that he and Potter, his longtime partner, found the last 3 Wharton men soon after they killed and robbed a man. Rooster said that he and Potter walked up with their guns drawn, but the Whartons charged, so they had to shoot. Potter died in the battle. Rooster killed 2 of the Whartons and brought Otis back to Fort Smith. The judge finally decides to keep the hearing going the next day. This gives Maddie a chance to meet up with Rooster and ask him to find Chaney. Rooster asks her to have dinner before she accepts the offer. Maddie talks about the case in more depth over dinner. Although Rooster knows lucky Ned Pepper and wants to take the case, he is still unsure if Maddie really has the money. Maddie goes back to the boarding house that night and stays there for a few days because she gets sick. LaBoeuf, a Texas Ranger, moves into the boarding house just as she is starting to feel better. He tells her that he is also looking for Chaney. He tells her that Chaney is just a fake name for a criminal named Theron Chelmsford. LaBoeuf has been after this criminal since he killed a senator and his dog in Waco, Texas, a few months ago. Happy to hear that someone else wants to find Chaney, Maddie tells LaBoeuf that she's hiring Rooster, and LaBoeuf thinks about working with her. But it's clear right away that LaBoeuf wants to bring Chaney back to Texas. Maddie doesn't like this idea because she wants the person who killed her father to be hanged in Fort Smith. The end of their discussion is a fight. When Lawyer Daggett's letter comes, Maddie seals the deal with Stonehill. Then she goes to see Rooster, gives him a down payment, and tells him she'll be going with him. At first, he says no, but he quickly realizes that she won't give up. But when Maddie sees him again, he's with LaBoeuf. LaBoeuf tells him that he can make more money if he helps bring Chaney to Texas because the senator's family has promised a big prize. Instead of helping Maddie, Rooster changes sides and teams up with LaBoeuf. Maddie buys back one of the ponies and names her Blackie. The next morning, she leaves early because she knows that Rooster and LaBoeuf are going to start their trip on a small boat. But when she gets on Blackie, Rooster and LaBoeuf tell a deckhand to walk her back to shore, and the ship leaves. When the deckhand tries to lead her to the top of a hill, she tricks him and goes off. She steers her horse through a narrow part of the river and swims through the water until she gets to the other side. When LaBoeuf and Rooster see this, they run away, but she follows them until they stop and take her off Blackie. That's when LaBoeuf whips her with a switch. After a while, Rooster feels sorry for LaBoeuf and tells him to stop. LaBoeuf still won't listen, so Rooster pulls out his gun and the Texas Ranger gives up. Rooster, LaBoeuf, and Maddie learn that Lucky Ned Pepper and 2 other criminals were seen 3 days ago at a store called McAllister's. After a hard day of riding and a night spent on rough ground, the 3 of them find a man-made cave the next night and meet 2 crooks who know Ned Pepper. Their names are Quincy and Moon, and Rooster has to shoot Moon in the leg to get them to work together. Moon tells the 3 that they saw Ned and his buddy Hayes 2 days ago as he slowly dies. Quincy cuts off 4 of his fingers to make him quiet down. LaBoeuf then shoots Quincy in the neck, killing him. Moon tells Ned and Hayes that he are going to return to the cave that night to eat dinner and get a group of horses that Moon and Quincy stole. The horses are currently standing in the woods. When Moon dies, Rooster tells Maddie and LaBoeuf to clean up the pit and start the fire again to make it look like people are inside. LaBoeuf hikes up one hill while Rooster and Maddie hike up another while they wait for Ned and his group to come back. Rooster tells them that the plan is to trap them in the V-shaped tunnel that is built between the hills. But when the bad guys finally show up hours later, Ned fires his gun into the air, which scares LaBoeuf. He then shoots back, missing Ned but hitting his horse. While the criminals are running away, Rooster and LaBoeuf fire at them, killing Hayes and a younger criminal. When one of the thieves shoots at LaBoeuf and breaks the stock of his gun, he gets a small injury to his shoulder. The 3 people get to McAllister's store with the horses that the thieves were riding and the bodies of 2 crooks as the sun comes up. After that, they set out again, and Rooster led them drunkenly to where he thought the thieves had gone for a very long time. For Maddie, it was the longest day of her life. They finally get to sleep in a place that Rooster says is 4 miles from Ned Pepper's group. But when Maddie goes to a stream to get water in the morning, she runs into Tom Chaney. She talks to him, but he doesn't listen, even when she uses her dad's old gun against him. She shoots him in the stomach right as he tells her to go with him. After her next shot goes wide, Chaney grabs her and pulls her up the other side of the stream before LaBoeuf and Rooster can save her. The 2 groups start shooting at each other, but Rooster and LaBoeuf have to run away. They tell Ned that they'll leave as long as he doesn't hurt Maddie. Matthew is taken by Ned to the bandits' camp on top of a small hill. Soon, they see Rooster and LaBoeuf riding off, and they start to relax. They even talk about splitting up the money they got from the last train robbery. After this is done, Ned tells everyone to leave except Chaney and Maddie, since Chaney's horse ran away after Maddie shot it. Ned tells Chaney to take Maddie to a certain place so that he can drop her off and get a horse for himself. This makes Chaney feel cheated. He and his friends then ride off. After a short time, Maddie hits Chaney over the head with his gun and then throws a pot of hot water at him. He catches her and pulls her away. Just then, LaBoeuf comes out of nowhere and points a gun at Chaney. He has snuck up the backside of the hill. When Maddie looks down, he sees Ned Pepper and his friends riding on the plain. Suddenly, Rooster appears and charges them at full speed, shooting while holding the reins with his teeth. He beats everyone except Ned before falling and having his horse fall on top of him. Ned walks up to Rooster and gets ready to kill him, but LaBoeuf shoots Ned where he stands from the hill. Maddie and LaBoeuf are happy about this great shot, but Chaney hits LaBoeuf in the head with a rock, knocking him out. Chaney says there are rattlesnakes in the big pit, but Maddie doesn't see any when she shoots her in the head with her gun. The force of the shot knocks Chaney backwards, and she falls into the pit. Still, she finds that her arm is broken and that the bottom half of her body is stuck in the opening of a bat cave that goes even deeper. She is about to fall through when she hears Chaney's voice and realizes he is still alive, even though his body falls into the pit when Rooster shows up a moment later. When Chaney's body hits the ground, he crushes an old human skeleton that was lying nearby. The skeleton is full of sleeping rattlesnakes, which jump out and bite Maddie in the hand. The moment she is about to pass out, Rooster jumps down and grabs her, and LaBoeuf lifts them both out. After that, Rooster leaves with Maddie and rides Blackie back to Fort Smith, while LaBoeuf stays with Chaney's body. Before they could get to safety, though, Blackie passed out from being so tired. Rooster then picked up Maddie and ran. Maddie goes to the doctor for a week, and because of the snake poison, they have to cut off her arm. Maddie hopes to see Rooster again in the years after this trip, but he never comes back because he does weird jobs all over the country. After many years, she finally hears that he has joined a traveling circus. However, when she goes to see him, she finds out that he died 2 days ago.
About the author. Charles Portis was born in 1933 in El Dorado, Arkansas. After finishing high school, he joined the Marines. He was a sergeant in the Korean War and got out of the Army in 1955. He then went to the University of Arkansas to study journalism. Once he was done with college, Portis worked as a writer for newspapers in Tennessee and Arkansas to make money before starting to work for the New York Herald Tribune as their office chief in London. He did go back to Arkansas for a short time, though, because he wanted to focus on writing stories full-time. Although reviews were mixed, his first book, Norwood, came out in 1966 and got mostly good reviews. After 2 years, he wrote True Grit, which became a huge hit. After True Grit became a hit, Portis didn't write another book until 1979, when he released The Dog of the South. Then came Masters of Atlantis in 1985 and Gringos in 1991. He died in 2020, at the age of 86.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.